Drop a standard steel sword into minus 50 degrees Celsius and something terrifying happens. The metal doesn't just get cold, it changes structure. It becomes brittle. Strike it against a hard rock and it might shatter like glass. Now, imagine you are standing in a world where there are no trees for charcoal, no mountains for iron ore, and the sun disappears for months at a time. You are naked against the fiercest predators on Earth. Polar bears that weigh half a ton, and whales that can crush a boat with a tail flick. You have no metal, you have no wood, you have no fire hot enough to forge. By all laws of history, you should be defenseless. But the Inuit people were not defenseless. They looked at the landscape of ice and death, and they didn't see emptiness. They saw an arsenal. They realized a chilling truth. To kill a monster, you must wield a monster. Welcome to Julian's Arsenal. Today, we leave the forge behind. We are going to a place where weapons aren't made of steel. They're made of teeth, ribs, and souls. In almost every civilization we've discussed, Rome, Japan, Scythia, technology was defined by mining. You dig stuff up, you melt it, you hammer it. But for the Inuit living in the high Arctic, the earth is frozen solid like concrete, permafrost. Digging is impossible. So where do you get your materials? You get them from your prey. In Inuit culture, the relationship between the hunter and the hunted is profound. When a hunter kills a walrus or a whale, nothing is wasted. The meat feeds the family, the blubber fuels the lamps, and the skeleton becomes the technology. This requires a level of engineering that is frankly mind-blowing. Bone is not easy to work with. It curves, it's irregular, it's alive. They didn't have rulers or blueprints. They used eye measure and the friction of stone against bone. They turned walrus ivory, which is harder than some metals, into deadly spear points. They turned whale ribs into armor. While Europeans were obsessed with finding new alloys, the Inuit were mastering organic engineering. They were building machines out of biology. Let's start with the most iconic weapon, the harpoon. But not just any harpoon, the toggling harpoon. This is perhaps the smartest mechanical device invented by pre-industrial humans. Here's the problem. If you stab a massive seal or whale with a simple pointed stick, the stick just pops out when the animal thrashes. You lose your weapon and you lose your dinner. The Inuit solved this with physics. The head of the harpoon, carved from bone or ivory, is detachable. It's tied to a line made of sealskin. When the tip penetrates the animal's thick blubber, the tension on the rope causes the bone head to twist sideways, 90 degrees under the skin. It creates a T-shaped anchor inside the animal's body. It locks in place. The harder the animal pulls, the tighter it holds. It is basically a biomechanical trap deployed on impact. Think about the precision needed to carve that joint out of bone so it stays straight in the air but pivots instantly upon impact. It's genius. Now what about ranged warfare? The English had yew wood for their longbows. The Mongols had bamboo and horn. The Inuit had driftwood. Driftwood is garbage wood. It's brittle, soaked in salt, and has no elasticity. If you bend it, it snaps. So how did the Inuit build powerful bows? They invented the cable-backed bow. They took sinew, the tough fibrous tendons from the back of a caribou or whale. They braided this sinew into complex cables. Then they lashed these cables to the back of the driftwood bow. Here's the physics. When you draw the bow, the wood compresses, which driftwood can handle, but the sinew cables stretch, handling the tension. The sinew acts like a rubber band made of protein, storing massive amounts of kinetic energy. When released, it snaps the wood back straight with terrifying speed. This is the same principle used in modern pre-stressed concrete for bridges. The Inuit were building suspension bridges to shoot arrows. But a weapon in Inuit culture isn't just a tool, it's a vessel. They believe in Inua, the soul that exists in all things. The bear has an Inua, the rock has an Inua, and your weapon has an Inua.
think about the psychological weight of this. You are hunting a seal with a harpoon tip made from the bone of a seal's father. You are fighting an enemy with a knife made from the jaw of a polar bear. They believed that materials retained the properties of the animal. A knife made of bear bone would be fierce and strong. An arrow made of wolf bone would fly true and bite deep. The weapon wasn't dead matter, it was a partner. If you didn't treat your weapon with respect, if you didn't keep it clean and beautifully carved, the spirit would leave it and it would fail you in battle. This is why Inuit artifacts are so incredibly beautiful. They weren't decorating them for art galleries, they were decorating them to please the weapon's soul. History often paints the Inuit as peaceful, isolated people living in igloos. That is a lie. The Arctic is a resource-scarce environment, and scarcity breeds conflict. The most chilling example of their martial prowess happened in the 1570s during the expeditions of Martin Frobisher, an English privateer looking for the Northwest Passage. Frobisher arrived with galleons, muskets, and steel armor. He looked at the Inuit in their skin kayaks and saw primitive savages. He was wrong. In a sudden skirmish near Baffin Island, the English were ambushed. The Inuit didn't fight in lines, they fought from the water. They moved in their kayaks with silent, deadly agility, like a pack of orcas. Using their sinew-backed bows, they rained arrows onto the English sailors. The English were shocked. These bone-tipped arrows, driven by the immense power of the tension cables, punched right through the thick woolen clothes and even pierced the mail armor of the sailors. One Englishman had to be rescued with an arrow lodged deep in his ribs, an arrow not of iron, but of bird bone. The savages had outmaneuvered the Royal Navy. The bone weapons had tasted iron blood. It was a brutal lesson. Do not mistake lack of metal for lack of lethality. The Inuit proved that necessity is the mother of invention, but desperation is the father of war. They conquered one of the most hostile environments in the universe, not by fighting against nature, but by becoming a part of it. They wore the skin of the bear, they wielded the tooth of the whale, and they struck with the speed of the wind. Their bone weapons are a reminder to us modern humans. Technology isn't just about microchips and steel. It's about looking at the world around you, however broken or empty it seems, and finding a way to survive, even if all you have is a pile of old bones. If you enjoyed freezing to death with us today, strike that subscribe button like a harpoon into the ice. Next week, we're traveling to the steaming jungles of Aztec Mexico to see a sword made of glass that can cut a horse's head off. You don't want to miss the obsidian chainsaw. I'm Julian. Stay warm and respect the bone.